Hey friends, welcome back to Thrive in Align Healing Podcast. This is episode 40, and we are going to talk this week about emotional fatigue and hope in 2021. And this is also, I just want to take a moment to just honor this moment. Episode 40, I feel like is a turning point for Dr. Carmen and I. We didn't know what we were doing when we first started this podcast, and we've had to learn as we go, right? And, putting your stuff out there, you're putting yourself in a situation for either people to love you or people to hate you, right? There's just, and as we've kind of grown, and I just feel like episode 40, this one is the turning of a chapter for us. We're coming into our own, and we're owning it. So I want to celebrate that for a moment. Let's talk about it, Carmen. 2021, the hope. The people are emotionally fatigued from this year, right?
Yes.
It's been exhausting for us. Most of us always live in stress anyways. We've had this added stress, this added fear, this added unknown, all these added rules and what we should and shouldn't do, with no promises of when it will end. So humans do not like the unknown. So we've been in this unknown. And I think just people are tired. They're tired of the stress and the fear. We're tired of being told what to do and then the next day it changing. We're tired of being told that we can't see our family or living in fear, we're tired.
Yeah, it's understandable that we're tired, right? Because we have all these different stimuli coming at us, and the majority of them are negative, right? We get wrapped up into, especially around the pandemic, those numbers that are going up, right? Those family and friends who are getting sick. We worry about them. Those, folks that we know that have passed on, we worry about all of that, and it just keeps building and building, right? And the trouble is that there's not necessarily this light at the end of the tunnel. And so we get bogged down with this constantly being in this sympathetic state, in this, fight or flight state, in this stress, anxiety, fear, fearful state. And that wears on us. That wears on our body, our physical health, as well as our mental health. Mm-hmm. And I think that, as 2020, as we move into 2021, a lot of people are hoping for sort of this newness, right? Let's just clean the slate. Let's start over. 2021 is going to be a much better year, right? And I think the challenge goes with us setting up those expectations of just changing the calendar from 2020 to 2021. Because a lot of folks are looking at, what's going to change in this year, and what's going to change as far as the climate around us, mm-hmm. Right? I know a lot of folks are really hoping, I hear a lot of folks are hoping, right, that the vaccine is going to be this miracle cure for COVID. And so once they get vaccinated, they can go about doing whatever they want to do. They can go about traveling. They can go about being, free like they felt before in 2019. The vaccine's just going to the virus is just going to disappear and go away, and then we don't have to worry about it. And I think that even though that's sort of this exciting sort of a false light at the end of the tunnel, when some of those things don't come through, or that people may not be able to get vaccines until this summer, maybe April at the earliest, if they want to do that, and the virus is still changing. So our social climate and our political climate isn't as likely to change that drastically in the new year, right? Just because it's 2021.
Right.
So addressing that emotional fatigue, right? Addressing that we may not be able to change, our community and the world at large, but we can begin to change our thoughts and perceptions about what's going on and how we've been handling things, and how to address that emotional fatigue, that anxiety, that depression, that traumatic experience for some folks that the pandemic and the 2020 has had on us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we have to, so when we tell, as practitioners, when we tell our clients, our patients, right, like that we have to change that emotional response using thoughts, right? We have to change the thoughts and the beliefs. It goes even deeper than that. Like we have to dive down into control.
Yeah.
Right? Where is control? Where does it lie? Does it lie within you? Does it lie outside of you? I did a post about when, before life coaching, that I thought control lied outside of me, that my parents had it, the government had it, God had it, my significant others had it, men had it, women had it, but I didn't have it.
Yeah.
So all those things I had to manipulate and try to control and change to grasp for some level of control. Right. And I don't think that we're addressing that issue, because I think there's fundamentally a majority belief that they don't have control.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of people think, that it's outside of us, right? It's the government, right? Even the doctors have that control. I don't have that, which is a false belief, right?
Right. That feels very real. Like, well, I'm going to acknowledge that. If you're listening to this and you're like, but wait, like it feels so real as the hand on your arm, right? That the control does lie outside of you. But there is also a portion of us that know that it doesn't, right? Like we've seen behind the curtain and realize it doesn't. That the locus control has always been inside of you and you've always been in control. And how can I say that? Because control comes from your brain. And no one can control your brain but you. And everything you're seeing and experiencing is subjective interpretation. What you see from the outside world, you're filtering it through your perspective. And if your perspective says, I don't have control, then you're going to filter and see a world where you don't have control. Because your brain does not want to be wrong. It's going to, okay, that's what we believe. That's what the evidence we're going to go find.
Yeah, it's part of our programming.
Do what?
Part of the programming.
Yeah.
That we've,
And so a really good exercise that I have my clients do is to take the thought, I'm fully in control of my life and 100% responsible. Mm-hmm. And to take that and then do thought downloads on it. Like, what does that make you feel when you think that thought, when you say that thought out loud? What other thoughts come up when you hear and think that thought, that I'm 100% in control of my life and I am responsible for my life? For most people, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Oh, it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's so much easier to live in victim mentality and say, I'm not in control. You are, right? The government is. And if the government makes a mistake, it's their fault, not mine. I just did what they told me to do, right? Like, it's not my fault that my immune system isn't good. It's not my fault that I don't eat a great diet and that I don't exercise. It's not my fault. I wore the mask. I socially distanced. I don't know why I got COVID. It's the government's fault. They told me to do these things. I did it and I still got it, and they don't have a vaccine. Not my fault, right? Like, that is classic victim mentality. Whenever you can point the blame elsewhere, then you know it should be a red flag in your brain. Oh, I'm living off of victim mentality right now, which is not your fault, right? Like, it is definitely a social programming method. Mm-hmm. right? As long as the people don't believe they have control or power, then we as an institution, whatever it may be, religious, public schools, government, that's power.
Yeah. I think it is very challenging because when you stop and you think, okay, if the decisions that I've made, if, have been reactive, right? If I feel like that I don't have control, like that it's somebody else's fault that I'm in the situation that I'm in. When you stop and you put that mirror up and you reflect and figure out, okay, if that's the case, then the things that I have done, the things where I'm at in my time and space, if I'm not happy with that person, if I'm not happy with those decisions, and I'm the one to blame, that really feels crummy. Right?
It's a hard pill to swallow.
It is very, very hard. And so a lot of people, and that's, one, it takes a lot of work to want to put up that mirror and figure out, okay, how did I get here, right? Like, how did I get here in my health and wealth and happiness? And how, when, where do I want to be? Right. But when people look at themselves and they're not happy with their situation, or with their physical health, and they realize that they have not been, that they're accountable for that, people get really down about that, right? Like they get really down, they get really depressed. They're like, well, gosh, if, I've been doing this for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and this is where it's got me, how am I going to get out of this situation? Right.
And
how am I?
The victim mentality lying to you, right? How am I going to get out? It's like, you get out the same way you got in. You make different choices. That's all. It's all about choices and making the choice today.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think when we take that power back, right, and start to make those choices, then you start to get that, your locus of control, right? Yeah. But I think it's that challenge is hard, right? For folks, but I think it's essential to be able to make those choices, or at least take that reflection, do those thought downloads to try and identify behind the curtain what's there, right? Because it opens up a whole nother dimension for people. It opens up a whole nother like world of opportunities when you take that, that chance. You say, okay, you know what, this is my decision, and I'm going to do what works for me, regardless of what's going on around me, regardless of what's going on in my family, what people are saying around me, or, what's going on in the government, what's going on outside. There's a lot of power in that.
Sure.
And then you become a more solid foundation within yourself, if you will. Right? Yeah.
You become a person that you dreamed of being.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we don't fulfill, like as humans, I think most of us, regardless of our spiritual journey, okay, I think humans are fundamentally wired like to want to take care of ourselves, want to take care of the people that we love, and want to take care of the earth, right? And that includes like, we all just kind of fundamentally want like everyone to be taken care of, right? And we want to live our purpose. We want that so we can live our purpose. We want our soul and our life here to matter, right? I think that's a fundamental human need. I want my life to matter. Mm-hmm. And if we want to get to a place where we live our purpose and our soul to matter, we have to be the locus of control, right? Like,
yeah,
you don't become what you're supposed to be by somebody else or it happening or it magically falling out of the sky. You make a decision that I am in control of my life. I'm in control of this. And all my life is a matter of accumulation of choices. My choices.
Yeah. So when you take that control, then you become more proactive versus reactive,
Yeah.
right? So then all these stimuli that are coming at you on a regular basis, right? It's less likely for you to get in that emotional fatigue cycle because you are in control, right? You're being proactive in your life, in your decisions, and showing up in a way that you want to. Yeah.
Yes.
Not as a reactionary, okay, I'm showing up because, I feel like I have to, or because, this entity told me I had to, or blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
And that's where the world will change.
Yes.
When the humans take the locus of control back and we show up and we're proactive, we stop trying to control other people. Right? And we start living our lives and staying in our lane.
Mm-hmm.
When we're reactive, we're just like all over the place and all these other people's business and all these other lanes and having opinions and bitching about things bitching doesn't change things. You want to change things, and you take and you become the locus of control, and you become the change you want to see.
Yeah.
And like, why am I harping on this? Because I've seen so many memes, and people say, like, there was one meme that said, if you in 2020 asked for endless weekends, please stop asking for them. Right? Like, because this is what this year feels like, is an endless weekend.
Yeah.
And so there's all these memes that are building us up to, like, 2020 was real shitty. It was terrible. Like, we cannot wait for 2021. So it's building that mentality for us that, like, it'll be different. The calendar will change and it will be different. And then we have another angle coming to us, like the vaccine's coming out. That's going to make this better, right? So we've got those two things coming at us, like, here's your hope. The calendar changing and this vaccine in 2021 is going to get back to normal. It's where our brains take that, right? Because that's what we want. We want normalcy. We want consistency.
Yeah.
But we all, I think, secretly know it's not going to change. January 1 is going to be the same as December 31st.
Yeah.
Right?
It only changes if you choose to change it. Yes. Yeah. So, those things that are coming at us, those things that are changing outside of us, right, within the world at large, aren't going to change how you go about your day-to-day business unless you change it. Yeah. So for folks who've struggled with 2020, right, with the pandemic, and kind of, feel like when our schedules changed, right, when our ability to travel has changed, our ability to kind of move throughout this world freely has changed. If people kind of feel like they were flailing by changing the calendar to 2021, and the idea of the vaccine is not going to change that, right? It's not those. This is what bugs me, is because people put together those memes because that's what they feel like, right? But there's not going to be like this magical shift just because those things have come out in a different year, right? It's a matter of working on our perception and what we want to change, what we want to do going forward. Is what's going to make the difference. It's not going to be a different calendar year. It's not going to be, a vaccine. It's not going to be a different political climate. It's going to be what you want to see different.
Yep. And it astonishes me. And I know, like, as humans, we don't make rational decisions or choices when we're coming from a place of fear, right? Like, it's all reactionary and it's all about animalistic survival, really. Like there is no logic and rationale when we come from a place of fear. So when you're flaming from a place of fear and you grab onto this little hopeful thing here, there is no logic or rationale backing up what we've grabbed onto as the hope, right? Like so many people I know, they're like, that vaccine. Like literally angels are coming down and singing with this vaccine, right? Like it's a miracle worker. And I have to have compassion and understand, like, okay, they're coming from a place of fear, so therefore there is no logic behind this savior belief in this vaccine. Because when you pull it back to logic, like, look, correct me if I'm wrong, Carmen, we have never cured a virus. Viruses don't disappear. They stay a part of the world's ecosystem, right? Our bodies adapt and learn how to fight it and rid it, but no vaccine has ever done that for it. We still have chicken pox. We still have the flu. We still have the cold, right? And like, how effective is that flu vaccine? Like, this one is not going to be any different.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a challenge because the vaccine that they're creating for COVID is very different than any other vaccine that we've had on the market for the last 80 years, right? And so without making this a whole vaccine
Right.
podcast, I do want to say, though, that the vaccines that they've created, this mRNA vaccine, the two different options that are available now, have not been done before. And so even though there's probably about 25 vaccines out on the market these days, none of them are mRNA vaccines. So this is very different with biotechnology and nano particles and nanotechnology. So that being said, I'm telling folks, we don't know what the long-term effects are of this vaccine, right? We don't know what the long-term efficacy is of this vaccine. So putting all your eggs in that basket may not be the best option long-term.
And all we're asking is like, look at the coin from both sides. Because some people are going to interpret that like, this is not like any other, so it's going to work.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's those of us who are like, this isn't like any other. What's the long-term side effect, right? Just look at both sides of the coin. It's unknown. Yeah. It could be phenomenal and truly be the savior of the world. It could also be very detrimental to us as humans.
Right. I think so on either side of that spectrum, relying wholeheartedly on one thing to fix it, right? This magic vaccine to fix this virus at large is not realistic, right? Because even if people were to go and line up and everybody got vaccinated, I mean, it's a virus. It's out in the environment, right? It's just like other viruses. It's not going to disappear just because people get vaccinated, right? It's still going to be within our ecosystem. So we're still just going to, be able, or our body's going to learn how to deal with that virus just like it does any other virus we're exposed to. Mm-hmm. And so by putting all this hope into something externally from us is also same thing, right? Playing into this victim mentality. I have a lot of people who come to me who have kind of lost hope as far as their physical wellness goes, right? They've been to doctors, they've had tests, they've been to the Mayo Clinic, they've done all these things, and everybody tells them, I'm sorry, this is as good as it gets, right? You're not going to get any better. Mm-hmm. They're incorporating what they've been told, right, from doctors, what they've been told from other medical organizations, that this is it, that they're never going to be well. Mm-hmm. Instead of, and so then when we talk about how the body works, we talk about how the body wants to regenerate, and they get this hopefulness, right? tell folks that hope has to come from within us. Sorry, my dog's knocking the table. The hope has to come from within us, right? Not from things surrounding us. So as part of the same thing as part of that locus of control is that we have the power to create that hope, just as well as we have the power to create the solutions that we need in our life.
Exactly. And it goes back to the story we've talked about in the podcast before, of the research showing like when somebody believes, like two different people, both of them have cancer, both of them have like same stage as everything, right? And one believes, has kind of lost hope and put only their hope in the medical community, right? And then the other person believes in the medical community, but also their body's ability to heal itself and their hope of them living. Like, you will have two different outcomes.
Right.
It's simply and it's nothing other than the thoughts and the belief.
Yeah. You're exactly right. When you take similar situations, and you account for all the variables within their health and within their medical status, and then you look at their mindset. If their mindset is not there, right, if they are not hopeful, and they're fearful, right, or they've lost hope, they're fearful, they're depressed, right, they're not in a surviving state, right, mentally, then their numbers, their labs will be worse. The outcome is often worse, because the power of our mind is so important, is in relationship to our physical health, right, but also our mental health. But when you believe, right, that you're the locus of your control and that you have the power and the opportunity to heal your body, to heal your mind and your brain, we can do wonders with our health and wellness, right? Yeah. We look at like sport athletes and visualization, right? It's a similar idea, in that when you know that you have that control and that power and you believe it, it may sound silly, but you can believe yourself into health and wellness, because you're creating that within your body by by focusing on a different mindset.
Yeah. Because then it triggers the brain to create different chemical reactions, right?
Yes.
Like, I will always go back to say, your brain is just going to go look for evidence to prove itself true. Whatever you believe, it's like, all right, you believe we're going to die. I'm going to go find evidence to prove that we're dying. But you believe, like, no, I'm going to beat this. I'm going to beat it. And your brain's like, okay, we're going to beat this. And it produces a whole different set of chemical responses.
Yes. Yeah, that's very true. In the field of neurology and neurobiochemistry is beginning to shed light on that, because I think conventional medicine didn't really understand or didn't really believe that. They had attributed it to a lot like the placebo effect, right? So they have looked at different groups of people who have cancer and their level of spirituality, right? And they've found that some folks who have a stronger spiritual background and who have a meditation practice or a prayer, devotional practice, will have better outcomes in their health around cancer care than those who don't, right? And so by looking at that, we can, they're starting to see, okay, well, something's changed in our brain, right? Something is actively changing and happening, that as they participate in those activities, they're creating a situation within their body that is decreasing cancer cells, right? That's increasing their own immunity, increasing their own cells of regeneration, to reduce the cancer cells.
Yeah. The power in the mind.
It's huge.
Right?
It's huge, and I don't think that we given enough credit
No.
overall.
Why? Because we believe the control is outside of us.
That's what we've been programmed, right? That's what we've been taught. So
that's why we're harping on this with you guys, because we care, right? And I truly believe that our world will change when we start taking ownership of our lives and seeing the control we have. And that's what we want to empower you guys to do. That's what this whole podcast, especially this episode, is about, is giving the power back to you guys. You want 2021 to be amazing? Then you make 2021 amazing. You start working on your thoughts and you start changing your beliefs and you do the hard work to just start questioning everything that feels so real to you and asking, does it serve me? Does it serve me? If 2021 is my last year to live, how do I want to live it? How do I want to show up in this world, regardless of what's going on, regardless of the government, regardless of the pandemic, regardless of it all? How do I want to show up? So if December rolls around in 2021 and I'm laying on my deathbed, I can look back over 2021 and be like, I did it. I lived it my way. And I chose not to live in fear this year. I didn't care what went on outside of me. I lived it my way.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what, we're just empowering you guys. It's hard work. It's hard work to take the full responsibility of your life and to know that you're fully in control of it. But it's so worth it because then you actually start living. You start living the life you want to live. Right? And we want that for all of you.
Yeah. Once you get started, it can be very rewarding and motivating, right? You create that own hope within your life. And it is hard work, but here's the thing. You guys don't have to do it alone, right? We are here to support you. If there's any way that we can support you in this journey, please feel free to reach out. We want to be your allies and help you kind of maneuver through this, because that reward or that light that you create is so powerful and can be so bright once you begin to uncover it.
Yeah, and I love that you pointed that out. The journey to where you are today and the journey to where I am today was not a solo journey.
Oh no, I couldn't have done it by myself. Yeah.
We had, I don't know if guru is the right word, but I always like to think of someone that's already done the journey or a little bit farther ahead of me, as my guide, right?
Yeah.
You and I have had so many guides in our life to help us get to this place where we can in turn around and help other people. You help other people heal and encourage their body to heal itself, right? I help people by getting to the root causes of faulty beliefs and thoughts, so then they can live an empowered life and live a life they want to live, right? It's just you and I giving back to what our guides have given to us, right? And you're right. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to me, this information and this perspective is so exciting. I want to share it with everybody.
Yeah. I believe it so much. That's why I show up.
Yeah.
So aggressive about it. I don't know. It's I'm kind of a little bit forceful. You have to believe this. Why am I like that? Because it has literally changed my life.
Yes.
It's if you had the cure to cancer, Carmen, I would hope that you would be forceful and pushy about it. Look, you're stupid not to listen to me. I literally have the cure in my hands. So that's why I get fired up. I literally have the cure, right? To be able to live the life that you want to live, because I didn't.
Right. Yeah. I think when you get to a point where are accountable for you, right? And you're excited to show up every day and be able to make those changes within your life. Like you said before, we're changing. We have the opportunity to change the communities, right? Change the world when we begin to take that locus of control. And so to be able to share that with people and show them, guide them on that journey, because it can be a really bumpy road to get there on your own. And so to have that opportunity to work with somebody to guide you there so you can get there a little bit quicker and a little bit, I can't necessarily say painless, but with support, right?
Right.
To be able to get there with support,
Right.
and be able to, use us as a springboard or a
resource.
resource, yeah, to be able to support you on your journey is a big deal, I think, to be able to have that support. So
For sure.
take advantage of it.
I love the analogy. They used it about having a life coach, but I'm going to use it for both you and I. It's like, yes, you can totally do all the research about what foods to eat and how to get your body to stimulate itself, to heal itself, right? You can do all that. And you can do the journal work and read self-help books and thought work. You can do all those things just like you can walk to California. You can do it. It is possible. However, Carmen and I are offering you plane tickets to California, right?
Yeah.
You're still going to get to the same result. You're getting to California. It's like, do you want to walk there or do you just want to take a plane ride there?
Yeah. That's true. I love that analogy. I mean, everybody's journey is different, right? But to be able to support people on theirs, so that, you get a little bit more, get there faster, right? Maybe a little bit more inconvenience, in a convenient way, I guess I'd say, if you choose to ride a plane to California versus walking. There's a lot less ups and downs in that journey.
Yes. Yes. So, all right, my friends, this is your year. Create it how you will. So we will catch you on episode 41.